Well, welcome to our live stream. I'm Das, and I hope you can join me. We have a very good topic, a very important topic, a very popular topic, and I just want to go over 5 reasons why we get belly fat. And I'm also going to address specifically what diet, how diet can help with that. And this is the after party. This is the portion of Das Cafe where I go live. I will be doing that every Thursday, 7 o'clock Central Time, and just a comfortable chat with you. You can put some questions in the comment area, and if I can address it in this session, I will look over those questions and I may answer those or do a presentation on it at in a future date. So let's get going with today's topic: 5 reasons why we sometimes suffer with having a hard time. It's like all the fat goes there, it goes right there in the belly, doesn't go into other areas where we would want it to go, possibly, but it goes into the area. And belly fat, that's just your visceral fat. And if we were to, look at it, it's just that extra fat storage that could be important to us. But for the majority of us, it's more than what we want. So let's go over. Reason number one is lack of exercise, particularly core exercise. Now, the core exercises is what strengthens your midsection. And you may say, well, I don't want to be getting on the floor doing, 500 crunches and things like that. Well, if you don't want to get on the floor to strengthen your core, you can do a lot of standing exercises. They have several good standing exercises that you can do to help in that area, but not just the strengthening to increase your muscle mass, but also just being active to burn up calories. The more calories you burn up, the more you're going to lose weight in all areas of your body, but including your belly fat. All right. Another reason is hormonal imbalances. And if you're suffering from hormonal imbalances, that can lead to your releasing more of a stress hormone like cortisol. And cortisol is a steroid hormone, and it can affect your metabolism. It can cause you to increase your appetite and increase fat storage. So those are the things that we don't want. Even if we were almost close to our ideal body weight, but for whatever reason, we having a lot of body fat. I've had some clients, they were thin everywhere, but when it came to their belly and their midsection, it was just, hanging out there. So if you are one of those individuals, then the hormone imbalance is not what you want. You want something that is going to help to correct that so that you won't have that issue of activating your cortisol. That's going to increase your fat storage, going to increase your appetite. And again, those are the things that we don't want when we are trying to rid or reduce our belly fat. Okay, genetics. And that's nothing that we can do anything about. Genetically, some people are just slim in this area and they may have big hips. Genetically, you may have a large buttocks, but small breasts. Genetically, you may have large breasts, but small stomach, small tummy, small rear end. So we can't do anything about that. But that is another reason why some people are distributing more fat storage in their belly or their abdominal area. Stress. Now, we talked about cortisol, but stress, whenever you are stressed over periods of time, we're not talking about an isolated incident and you get stressed out and you deal with that. But we're talking about if you are dealing with stress over long periods of time, then that may be a problem for you. And you would need to focus on, how can I manage my stress? I may need to take in less activities, learn how to say no to people, et cetera, et cetera. And that one you're going to have to practice, because if you're one who is not comfortable with saying no to people, then you need to start practicing on small things and then get bigger, so that you can be able to manage your stress better. Okay. So let's look at some things, what I want to share with you. And so here we go. We're talking about this belly fat here. And in this instance, this gentleman is probably needing to lose weight in other areas, but particularly carrying a lot of excess um, body fat in the belly area. And we talked about core exercises, and this is one of the things you can do. Now, some people are not comfortable with doing anything with the ball and balancing with the ball. You really need a strong core to get there, but you can get there. And these individuals are definitely working on strengthening up their core. Dealing with stress now. And again, particularly the kind of stress that you're having over long periods of time could be problematic and causing you to activate your stress hormone and increase your cortisol. And that can mess up your metabolism, as well as increase fat storage and increasing your appetite, which are some of the things we don't want, particularly if we're trying to lose weight overall. So those are things that you want to be mindful of, as we're covering, what really can you do? Okay, so now I want to focus on, we talked about those four things. The fifth thing is diet, and that is the focus of our presentation, diet. So we're going to start off talking about lean protein. These are some of the things you can do, and then I'll talk about some things that you probably need to avoid and then put it all together. But lean protein. And so anyway, you can either purchase, if you're eating animal products, low fat, no fat, lean. Those are the things you want to focus on in this area. Healthy fats. Now, healthy fats are primarily plant-based fats, and that's nuts and seeds, all your nuts and all your seeds, sunflower, safflower, you name it, sesame. But these are healthier fats. So you want to focus more on these healthy fats. The unhealthy fats are lard. The unhealthy fats are when you're eating juicy cuts of meat or veal that have a lot of marble, or we say marbling, or marble or fat in them. You definitely want to, cut it out, cut it off. Sometimes you can go up under the skin if you're eating poultry, and remove as much of that fat as you can if you're a meat eater. But if not, then here are your healthier fats, and you definitely want to be focusing more on healthy fats versus those fats that are very saturated, which we primarily get from animal and animal products. And so that's all meat. And animal products would be, dairy, eggs, egg yolk, etc. And any product that you're using these animal products to make, you want to be careful about that. And then water. Drinking more water. And for a lot of us, that's a problem. We don't want to drink water because we don't like the taste of it. We don't want to drink water because it's inconvenient. We'll start going to the bathroom more, and we don't want to do that. Well, it's a good thing if you have to go to the bathroom more, unless you have a urinary tract infection or something like that, because you want to hydrate and you want to get rid of the waste. And so, that's just being healthy. So we need to manage around that and as much as possible. So drinking more water is definitely an excellent recommendation to help you to get rid of your body fat or reduce your body fat. And then decrease sugary drinks. And, I do all the shopping for my family. And I mean, we have almost 2 aisles of drinks. You have all the different types of sodas. And now you're getting these new sodas that are not high in sugar. Well, I guess that's a tad step in the right direction. But a number of these may be lower in sugar, but they're putting that artificial sweetener in. So that's not good. So you really have to search. So there are some sodas that I've seen that are lower in sugar and don't have the artificial sweetener. But other than that, you've got all of these sugary drinks, carbonated, non-carbonated, they're out there for us, and we need to look at reducing that. Even the different coffees that you have, coffee shops and buying coffees are in vogue. And so you want to look at definitely the different types of coffee drinks that you can buy where you're adding a lot of sugar, like a Frappuccino. Now, a 16-ounce Frappuccino gives you 60 grams of sugar. And we're going to talk about how much sugar is recommended, but 60 grams of sugar. So in a 16-ounce of Frappuccino, you're getting anywhere from 206 to about 440 calories per that drink. So if you're doing 2 of those a day, or even if you're just treating yourself in the morning, that is the recommendation or exceeds the recommendation pretty much for the day. And so, if you're adding other beverages, if you're doing a soda in that day, and if you're doing other sweet things, we're getting into the summer months, uh, popsicles and other types of things that we enjoy, cake, cookies, you are definitely going overboard with sugar. So, we just want to talk about those sugary drinks. That's my focus on this one, reducing your sugary drinks. Now, I want to say, and I want to bring this to your attention now, since we're talking about sugar, and we'll talk more about sugar in a little bit. But the recommendation, the American Dietary Guidelines, and these are guidelines that scientists come together and they come up with the guidelines for healthy people. And I say healthy people because if you're have some type of condition or chronic illness, what is recommended for you may be more or less. But for the average American that is healthy, it is recommended for the sugar consumption to be no more than 10% of your calories and or 50 grams. So if you're taking in the average 2,000 calories, we're looking at no more than 50 grams. So I say, going back to that Frappuccino, you're getting 60 grams in that Frappuccino. So if you take in the other sources of sugar that you're taking for that day, you're exceeding it. All right. And the American Heart Association is recommending less than the American Dietary Guidelines. I'm leaning more toward the American Heart Association's recommendation. So for a man, let's take the woman. For a woman, they're saying not to exceed 25 grams of sugar, which is 6 teaspoons. For a man, not to exceed 36 grams of sugar and or 9 teaspoons. So that is definitely a challenge, beyond a challenge, if we're taking in all of the sugary drinks and all of the other things that we know add a lot of sugar to our diets. So we've mentioned a number of things, and then here, I have a lot to say about this. Okay, work with me. Increasing your fiber. We are only taking in a little bit more than half of what is recommended. So you may have us taking in, we recommend 25 grams of dietary fiber a day is 25 to 40 grams. So 40 is ideal. 40 grams of dietary fiber a day. We may be coming in at 11 or 12. So we definitely need to focus on that because we eat maybe a lot of processed foods, which don't necessarily have a lot of fiber in them because those fibrous materials have been removed. So we need to look at that and increase our dietary fiber. And you get fiber from plant foods. And so those are vegetables, those are fruits, those are nuts, those are seeds, those are legumes. This is where we get our dietary fiber from. And we definitely want grains, but we want them to be whole grains. So they have those fibrous materials that we want to add to our dietary fiber intake. So you definitely want to increase your fiber intake. Now I'm going to say this: if you increase your fiber intake, you definitely want to increase your water intake along with it. Fiber and water go along like peanut butter and jelly. You don't want one without the other. So you want to increase your dietary fiber, definitely increase water along with it. The type of fiber that I really want you to focus on, both types, you have two types. You have soluble fiber, you have insoluble fiber. It's the soluble fiber, both are important, but it's the soluble fiber that can help with your digestive system. And that's what we want, to move things along our digestive system and eliminate. That's what we want. We don't want it just hanging in there. So by doing that, it's good. And sources of dietary fiber are oats, citrus fruits. Other sources are legumes, and that's beans, peas, lentils. These are some of the sources of dietary fiber that you want to focus on. Okay. And other sources of dietary fiber would be apple, particularly apple with the skin. Now, you may have an issue with that because of pesticides, then you're going to have to pay a little bit more money for your apple and get the organic apple or wash as thoroughly as you can. But that would definitely give you some more of that soluble fiber. And berries, barley. We don't eat a lot of barley, but barley is good. And flax seeds, chia seeds, avocados. So these are definitely good sources of that soluble fiber, which I want you to focus on. I want you to focus on fiber regardless of its category, but particularly when it comes to belly fat, let's look at that soluble fiber. Okay. And then, we talked about sugar. We're going to talk about it again here. We want to look at avoiding your sugary foods, and that it's in everything. It's in our crackers, even. It's in our condiments, ketchup, mustard. We just have a little bit of sugar in everything. It's in soups. So when you add it all up, we're definitely going overboard. So definitely, if you can avoid your sugary foods, and I told you what your recommendation is, and that could be a good thing. Now I want to switch over because I don't care how wonderful you do. And if you followed everything I said to the letter, to the T, but you were still taking in a lot of things to avoid, then you're not going to get the best results. So I want you to get the best results. Now let's look at some things that we want to avoid. First of all, we're looking at unhealthy fats, and in that group of unhealthy fats, that's those trans fats. And so you can get trans fats in anything that's hydrogenated. And you may say, well, I don't do lard anymore. Now I'm going with the vegetable shortening. Well, vegetable shortening, unfortunately, is hydrogenated. Unless you can get some version on the market that isn't hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated, you're going to get a solid fat, like you see when you open up that can of vegetable shortening, it's solid, it's not liquid. So there is a type of a saturated fat. In this case, it is vegetable fat. So it was manufactured to be solid. And that's where you get these trans fats. So we want to avoid that. A trans fat, um, your body has some trans fats, but the majority that we get, we're getting it from the foods that we eat, the processed foods that we eat that have been manufactured to be more solid. Thus, we get these trans fats. Stick margarine. And so you want to go with the soft margarine or look for margarine that has zero trans fats. And they are promoting that now. They are advertising that now. So go with the types of margarines that have the zero trans fats. And then a lot of our baked goods that we eat, a lot of cookies and crackers and snack foods, chips and all of these types of things, a lot of them have trans fats in them. So definitely be reading your label and looking for something that has zero trans fats or just a minuscule amount. We want to avoid refined grains, and was kind of hinting on grains before, and I was saying whole grains. And again, when I say whole grains, that means that the outer layer of the wheat has not been removed. That's the bran. And the germ is the inside. And so those things where a lot of your nutrients are and where a lot of your fiber is, it hasn't been removed. But when you mill it and produce it in the milling process, they mill it such that they remove those outer layers, they remove the germ, they remove a lot of the important parts that we would want that are good for our health. They remove those. So it's refined now. So now you have white flour, you have white rice, you have pasta, and all of these refined products, and there are more. So you want to look at that. Go with more whole grain. And when you read your label, whole grain, if it's corn in there, let corn be that very first ingredient. If it is whole wheat, then whole wheat should be that very first ingredient. If it's rice, again, it should be that very first ingredient. If you see multigrain, that makes you think, oh, this product is wonderful. It has multigrains in it. But if those multigrains are listed 10 ingredients down, meaning if you were to have a list going down of the ingredients, the number one ingredient, which is the predominant ingredient in that product, would be at the top, number one. And as it goes down, it's less and less and less. So if you're going down here, number 10 or number 12, then that means you don't have that much in it. So be a buyer beware. A lot of these multi-grains may have several grains in them, but they're not at the top of the list. You want that grain to be number one, number two, at least, to be the predominant grain in that product to say it's a whole grain. Otherwise, it's just extremely processed. They are getting over with that multi-grain thing. Now, there are some products you're going to pay money for them that have multigrains in them. But again, those multigrains are listed near the top because the ingredients are listed in a descending order. The number one ingredient as the top, and then it goes down. We want to avoid processed foods, and we've already alluded to that. Processed foods, if it's in a package, if all you have to do is add water to it, for the most part, if it's in a can or all you can do is press it out, it's a frozen meal, it's been processed. And why would that be an issue with belly fat? Well, because processed food, as a rule, is high in salt, it's higher in calories. They usually add more calories, usually add more sugar and more flavor, so that that product would taste good because you have a lot of chemicals in there and a lot of food additives. So they add these other things, more fat, more sugar so it can taste good, more salt. And those are the things that we want to reduce when we are trying to reduce our belly fat and if you're trying to lose weight. So look at those processed foods. Well, that's probably a lot to chew on, and just wanted to run that through real quickly and start making small changes. It may be too overwhelming for you to want to do everything, but start somewhere. You can start with including some of those foods that I listed, some of those groups of foods that I listed. That would be things that can help with your belly fat and simultaneously start avoiding some foods. So you may not avoid all processed foods, but you can reduce it maybe to half and say, I'm going to reduce it in half. I no longer would do this. I'm no longer do that. I will start taking fruit. I'm not going to get, fruit in the package anymore because that's been processed. So there are a number of things that you can do. Man, I could go on and on and talking to you about it. But if you want to reduce your belly fat, be looking at the reasons for belly fat and some of the things that you can do and focusing on, because my area, I'm DAS, I'm a registered dietitian, is diet, and be definitely looking to include some of those good things, reduce some of those things that I said to avoid. And I'm sure you will get some results. The more you do, probably the better results that you will get. If you're interested in losing weight, please look, and I'll have a link for you. Be looking for in the description, be looking for how you can learn more information about our Boss Battle Academy. It's an academy that we have that deals with online weight loss. So you can go online at your own leisure, do the modules, and definitely help you with the process of trying to lose weight while you're learning in that process. And you will have coaches, you will have, there'll be some live sessions to help you. So there's definitely engagement and interaction. We want you to join. So I'm Das. I'm out, but I look forward to seeing you next time. And share me with your family and friends, and do subscribe. Goodbye.